Hey guys, SGT here, and I'm on an airplane. As you probably know, I was going to be out for about a week, and out of the 100 people on this airplane that I could have sat next to, I'm sitting next to a Patriot. His name is Mike, and we decided to have a bit of a conversation. Mike, welcome to the program.
All right. Good to be with you, SGT.
Well, it's good to have you, and how ironic. I mean, what are the chances of us sitting next to each other? Isn't that weird?
Yeah, some people call it fate, but I think there are other forces involved to get like-minded people together. And ironic, fate, or God's will. But no, it's exchange of ideas, and it's just glimpsing something about a person. I happen to be holding this book that caught your eye, Patriots by James Wesley Rawles, and got us thinking about scenarios for where our world is headed. And
yeah, we've had a conversation already, guys, for about 20 minutes. And Mike's reading a book called Patriots, a Novel of Survival in the Coming Collapse by James Wesley Rawles. And, it really caught my eye. And I said to him, because we hadn't really greeted each other, I said, looks like you and I probably have a lot in common. And then away we went. So you are concerned about a financial collapse. But, we talked briefly about the Federal Reserve System. We talked really briefly about precious metals. A lot of that is fairly new to you. What troubles you the most about our financial setup in this country, and what makes you nervous that an economic collapse or a financial collapse is on the horizon? Why does that worry you?
Well, I guess what worries me, I'm pretty simplistic. I guess what worries me is I don't fully understand it, and I think economics is very simple. It's and what drives economies. It's people who have something of value that something else is willing to trade for, and what the drivers behind our economy now aren't based on things that I see of any value that I would want to trade for, or to trade my effort or my value for. But there's a lot of hype. The drivers behind our economy, it's an empty shell, I think, and that's what worries me. So I've got an MBA, I've got a master's in accounting, and it taught me that when it comes down to it, it's all about trading. And if you don't see the value behind a trade, then there's something fishy, that somebody's pulling something over on you. That's what bothers me about our economy. I think the things that drive it, the material goods that industry and even our government would like you to buy to keep the economy churning, to me aren't things of value and aren't things that really people need. So that's what bothers me.
Well, yeah, we're a 71% service-based economy. The rest of it is actually, pretty much retail sales.
Yeah.
We're selling goods and services back and forth to each other, and the goods are made in China.
Yeah.
So globalization has clearly been a problem, as they've offshored our industry, and they've offshored our manufacturing, they've offshored our workforce, and now Americans are really essentially finding themselves homeless in the country their forefathers conquered.
Yes, there's an interesting quote, and I probably saw it 10 or 15 years ago, about the opening of a mall in a city in Germany, and the supposed fanfare wasn't, but the mayor of the city wasn't too excited about it. He said, "We're not excited about a mall here. We don't want to become like the Americans, a nation of haircutters." And that's what I think of ourselves now. Are we a nation of haircutters? And many of our other Western neighbors, there are very few people who value, honest trades, being good at a trade, being able to contribute. That we're a nation of people who want more leisure, want more entertainment, more amusement, and work is a buzzkill. So
let's talk a little bit about precious metals. You had mentioned to me that you had talked to your wife briefly about the idea of buying gold, because you are concerned about a collapse, and she kind of looked at you like you were nuts. Tell us about that.
Yeah, she said, "No way, I don't want to get into precious metals." I think she's worried about volatility, and she still has trust in the in the stock market. Again, the stock market is people trading things with limited real value. It's more about hype and speculation. So I agree that precious metal, something tangible, whether it's precious metal or just something tangible that you can have hold in your hand, possess. Yes, it's the value to other people is going to fluctuate over time, but no matter what, it will be something that you hold in your hand versus ones and zeros moving back and forth across the internet. So my wife, I agree. It's like precious metals are, yes, I would go for it, but I'm not gonna start a fight over it. So I said, well, what about land? Again, something tangible, and no matter what, I think that's important to me. I come from a family that was sharecroppers and never had land, and I'm probably advanced well beyond, in terms of my family. But so land is what I'm thinking about next.
Now, I should add that Mike served in the first Iraq War, and before we get into the military and your feelings on these essentially endless wars on terrorism, I want to flesh this out a little bit on gold and silver. What I like to tell people, if you want to take this back to your wife, Mike, is that we have homeowners insurance, we have health insurance, we have car insurance, we have all these different insurances in our life that protect us against a worst-case scenario. And the way you need to look at physical silver and physical gold is as an insurance policy in a worst-case scenario. So let's say you had $300,000 or $400,000 in a 401k that you'd saved up over a lifetime. Taking 10% of that money out, paying the penalties on it, and putting it into a tangible asset like gold and silver, which is so under-owned by the general public. Less than 1% of the population in this country owns any. You're really ahead of the curve, and you're giving yourself an insurance policy, a tangible asset that will protect you against the paper collapse that you're talking about.
And I think that it's another way to you could sell it as we're diversifying our portfolio.
Absolutely,
we think that we're letting fund managers diversify for us, and I'm going along with the herd and following the dollar cost averaging principle and just keep on putting it in and you're going to be all right. But again, it's all based on a system that I don't think is sustainable. So maybe I could use that. It's an insurance policy and also diversification. We're not talking about taking it all and moving it over to those precious metals.
Yeah, and as I told you when we met before we started recording, I interview a lot of the top people in the precious metals industry, people that have been right since 2000, 2001, when gold was at $250 an ounce and silver was at $4. One of those people, James Turk, who runs a billion-dollar company called goldmoney.com, he has said for 10 years that by 2014 to 2015, silver will be trading at $400 an ounce and gold will be at $8,000 an ounce. This is just based on the statistics and the money printing that just is endless.
Yeah.
So anyway, preaching to the choir, everybody who's listening knows all this. But let me ask you about your experience in Iraq. You say you were there during the first Gulf War, is that right?
Correct.
What was that experience like, and how did it wake you up to, was that a just war? I mean, my audience thinks it wasn't. I think it wasn't. The evidence would suggest it wasn't. What's your take?
Well, as a soldier, I did my duty and, follow lawful orders. But no, personally, when I got back home to the States, I saw that, I saw that it was just a war about cheap oil. And when I was there, really what I saw, though, we were told this was about protecting a democracy and, against an unjust invasion. I didn't see anything worth dying for over there, whether it was Saudi, Kuwaiti, or Iraqi. Those people didn't want us there. They didn't want our way of life. They didn't deserve to have our sons and daughters' blood spilled for them. And that was a very clean war there. Yes, there were losses, but, we've gotten ourselves embroiled in an even worse conflict in the past decade. And too many of our sons and daughters have spilled their blood for values and a lifestyle that is contrary to what true Americans value. And so basically, in a nutshell, I didn't see anything worth dying for over there, and I don't think there's anything worth dying for today. When it comes down to individuals, and I've shared with SGT, I'm a Christian. Yes, there are children of God there who are nobody is worthless, but no, the reasons we're not being told the truth about the reasons we're over there because the reasons are unpalatable.
Unpalatable to the degree that it seems to me that we're serving the interests of the corporatocracy, those that run and basically own the military. We talked about this as it relates to the Federal Reserve System in 1913. These criminal banksters have essentially, using their fiat currency, which they print out of thin air, bought up everything of value and enslaved us. And so when we see our young men and women over in Afghanistan dying, we have to ask ourselves, what are we there for? Are we there for the oil in the Caspian Sea Basin? Are we there for the poppy production, which is now at an all-time high, when under the Taliban it was at an all-time low? The heroin production coming into this country from Afghanistan? Why are we there? And what is it going to take for the American people? There's two of us on this airplane that probably are like-minded, and the rest of us, hopefully more than that.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it was, divine intervention that brought us together to sit next to each other here. Maybe there's a lot more of us on this plane. I don't think there is. What's it going to take to wake people up?
That's a tough one. We talked about it it may take a collapse, but I'm certainly not, I don't want to see my neighbors suffering, but I'm afraid that we're so far gone that, as long as we, again, I don't want to, the Germans have a term, Schadenfreude, where you take pleasure out of other people's misfortune, and I don't want to be that way, but I'll tell you honestly, when I do see the economy not working right, an economy that I don't believe in, it is just, or it's validation of my points of view, but I don't necessarily, I feel bad about saying that. I don't want it to go that way, but I'm afraid that's what it's going to take, because otherwise people have no reason to want to change. If you keep feeding them, their flat screen TVs and their mindless entertainment and their McMansions, they have no reason to want to change. And difficult ideas or politics or make life uncomfortable.
Yeah, we talked about the fact that if you've not been in an unemployment line for a year, if you have not lost your house, if your kids aren't starving, this collapse, this economic struggle that we're going through in this country as they offshore the jobs through globalization is fairly invisible to the average person who's still gainfully employed. And, we're not rooting for the collapse, but maybe the collapse is what it's going to take to wake those people up, because there's 45 million people on food stamps in this country.
But I worry about those people on food stamps, or those people who have lost their jobs. How fired up are they, though? Or do they want the system to fix it for them? They want to go back to the way it was.
They want more of that Obama money.
Exactly. So that's what the folks who have suffered the most because of the failures of our system, I'm afraid I'm a small percentage of them. I haven't really heard of any of those folks who are more who have been awakened to, well, wait, this is broken, and maybe that's the media just showing me the stories of those who are, look at these poor people, we've got to help them, look, these safety nets are critical to helping these people. No, these people we all need to be able to, we need to be able to survive on our own and to make our own living without the unsustainable economy and system that we have today.
Sure, and there is such thing as compassionate conservatism, or in my case, compassionate libertarianism. Ron Paul talks a lot about, of course, there should be safety nets for those who can't help themselves. Nobody's saying that there shouldn't, but what we're saying is that the government can't create jobs, right, and the government can't help those people. You don't want the government to create jobs. The types of jobs that they're going to create are going to be non-value-adding jobs. It's more welfare is what it is. Well, yeah, and all the government can do is take from the productive and give to the unproductive,
right. Yep.
Which is collectivism, which, as we talked about before we started recording, is essentially taking us right back to communism. The Communist Manifesto is set up by the globalist banksters, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and the reason they love that is it takes away your sovereignty as a human being. In this country, thanks to the Constitution, our rights are given to us by God. Therefore,
right,
no man can take away those rights. In a communist situation, our rights are given to us by the leader, and therefore the leader can extinguish your rights anytime he likes. So that's what we're up against. Maybe that's why you're reading that book, and I thought it would just be compelling to talk to you. Do you have any final thoughts for us on patriotism? What does it mean to be a patriot now?